All right. Hey, Star Family. I do like that Star Family name there. That's what Ike Rodriguez uses on his True Sidereal Revolution channel. Star Family. I don't know. I don't think you would mind if we borrowed that. I do like it though. So we'll see if that keeps flowing there. Great to see familiar faces here. Hey, Eric Alexandria. Erica says, hello, cosmic friends. Hope all is well with you guys on this relaxing Sunday afternoon. True Sky Taurus is helping me better understand technology, still becoming more familiar with AI. Well, definitely good to be ahead on the AI train, I would say for sure, Erica. And, technology is obviously Aquarius stuff, but it does square Taurus, which means that Taurus actually will help us integrate Aquarius stuff. In this case, actually help us integrate technology. But of course, it all depends on where we actually have Taurus in our charts. Maybe you have Taurus in your 11th house of technology, or possibly also the 5th house, which is also very good for creative stuff as well, like that, creative learning in general. Maybe your 3rd house. 3rd house is a big one for engineering. But yeah, I think it's great to be ahead there with the AI stuff. And I think that's great for everybody right now to be challenging ourselves with the Aquarian energy in general. So for all of us to be challenging ourselves with technology, innovation, vision, the forward moving stuff. This is because we had Aquarius activated 3 months ago. And now we're in the first quarter of that. We're in the first action phase of that. So we could say, even aside from just technology, whatever started in your life 3 months ago, and this is true always, at any point in time, you can ask yourself, what did you start 3 months ago that you can really challenge yourself with now? And what did you start 3 months ago that you can start to manifest now? Because if you're using the solar cycle, the quarters are every 3 months. And the first quarter is the most, you could say it's the most challenging, but it's also the most catalyzing. It's the most, manifesting, really, right? Most action-oriented, most manifesting. So that brings up a really good point there, Erica. I think it's something that we can all utilize, even outside of the whole technology thing. For everybody, at any point, ask yourself, what did you start about 3 months ago that you can really challenge yourself and start to see manifesting now? Because that's working with the solar cycle. That's the square between where we are now and where things started 3 months ago. In other words, things always start 3 months ago, if that makes sense. At any point in time, there was a new beginning 3 months ago, and it's that new beginning 3 months ago that's being integrated, it's being manifested, it's being challenged on now. And I think that's a great way of working with the solar cycle. Anyways, great to have you, Erica. Always a pleasure. Margaret, great to see you. Everyone give a shout out to Margaret for moderating. Very helpful, keeping all the links and everything intact here with the live stream. Amanda says, good morning, Margaret and all. Hey, Amanda, great to see you. Jay Don, greetings, world. Great to see you, Jay Don. Javante says, grand rising from Arizona. All right, cool. Love Arizona. Hope you're enjoying some of that. I guess it's getting pretty hot now. Yeah, it's June, but yeah, year round is always great in Arizona. I prefer the heat anyways as well. Javante does say, I'm feeling in limbo space, open, almost directionless. Yeah, so that could be perhaps some of the Venus energy. Venus is still finishing Pisces. That's a lot of the directionless energy. Maybe it's the Saturn. Saturn's, if you've been feeling this since February, that could be the influence of Saturn. Saturn traditionally rules our systems, our structures, our careers, what we want to achieve, what we want to accomplish. And to be direct, it's not the most comfortable place in Pisces for Saturn to be, right? Saturn's more about clarity and systems and structures, and Pisces tends to dissolve it. It's not the worst place for Saturn. Pisces does sextile Saturn's Capricorn, Saturn's location. Sextile is a little more easier. But nonetheless, Pisces is a difficult energy to work with. Pisces is the directionless. Pisces is the inner. Pisces is the more spiritual, and that's where we've been having a lot of this energy lately, even with the North Node still finishing here. So, I'm not saying it has to continue to be this way. Maybe the Venus leaving will ease it up for you, because if you have a strong Venus in your chart or you're Venus ruled, like I am, I'm Taurus rising. So Venus becomes very important. I'm definitely feeling that Pisces internal energy. This is still very much in effect until Sunday. So Sunday, Venus will leave Pisces finally. It's been a very long transit with the retrogrades and all. But anyways, let's see if things shift for you there, Javante, with some of that. But I would say for everybody, it's really good to see the long term with our careers, our achievements, and that it's okay for it to be a little directionless right now, because it's more about listening to our soul. It's more about listening to our intuition. It's more about having a career, a productive life that's more soul fulfilled anyways, if you do mean that from the Saturn sense. Or if you have Saturn prominent in your chart, of course, or you're Saturn ruled, like maybe you're a Capricorn, or you have Capricorn rising, or a Capricorn moon, you're probably also feeling this strong Pisces energy as well. Hans, great to see you. Greetings from Copenhagen. Pleased to meet you all again. Great to see you, Hans. Violence is life. Good afternoon. I feel like I'm floating. So that's another Pisces thing there, right? The floating, the the limbo, right? Directionlessness. So maybe that's still in play there. I mean, another thing too is that we're still in the very early phases of the lunar cycle. We only just had the new moon last Wednesday, so we're only slowly building momentum now. But I do feel like it's going to be, a Tuesday, probably around Tuesday, probably getting into tomorrow on Monday, but really around Tuesday, things do become clearer from a monthly sense. So it's typically normal to feel that directionlessness or floating energy in the early phases of the lunar month. And that's been, technically since Wednesday, even the ending of the phase. So even approaching Wednesday of last week, you can add that, because it's the lowest energy of the lunar month, right? So we're at the, still at the low energy of the lunar month. We're only building momentum now. But once we do get to the first quarter around Tuesday, it does become more action oriented. There does tend to be a little more clarity, again, at least from the monthly sense. And things do start to manifest around that time. So that's what we're expecting here this week. Tuesday, more manifestation for everybody, more action orientation for everybody, and things starting to come to fruition for the lunar month. So J Don says, feeling balanced today, did lots of healing work last night to integrate the energies, making it past magnetic fields. The energies making it past the magnetic field. Well, along with the magnetic fields, yesterday was Venus over Chiron, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe that's right now, actually. Anyways, I have my notes there, but let's take a look at the sky here. Yeah, literally Venus is over Chiron right now. So anything from last night and today is excellent for healing. So Chiron's the healer, the wounded healer, can bring up, healing. But Venus really makes us connect to it, especially because we're in the Taurus month. We have the new moon in Taurus, Sun's in Taurus, Mercury's in Taurus, and Venus rules that, as we were saying. So Venus in Pisces means that wherever Venus is right now is very important, because if we're having a Taurus new beginning, we're having Taurus energy, then Venus is going to show us where. So right now, Venus is over healing Chiron. So it's an excellent weekend here for healing, seeing the value of healing, deep diving. This can actually heal in our relationships as well, as although it's probably not going to be as direct as just in perhaps enjoying the healing, because it can actually be quite enjoyable, or we can see the positive side to it, or the value of it, I should say. It can also be relationship too. So anyways, a new chapter, a new yearly, new beginning with healing really happening right now, but specifically in the context of our values and relationships. Felicity, great to see you. Aloha, everyone, says Felicity. Chris Davidson, great to see you as well. Chris from the UK, energy's feeling much better than a week ago. Yeah, I'm on that camp too. I do feel like the energies are getting easier to work with. Again, we're still staggering out of some of the more challenging ones, but I think it's definitely been getting easier. I think the most difficult period for me was probably, I think that was about a month ago. I had some things going on in my personal chart too. So obviously it's not, necessarily like that for everybody, but if I'm reading it personally, like I'm just looking at when I had the most difficult time, that was probably about a month ago. We had a lot of deep energy there, a The eclipses as well. That was just after the eclipses. Maybe it was a month and a half ago. But anyways, I do feel it getting easier myself, and I'm curious if anyone else feels that way as well. Thanks for sharing, Chris. Monica, great to see you. Greetings from Tennessee. Great to see you, Monica. Thanks for joining. So Chris does say, interested in your views on the summer season, June through August, and the main energies that you see, Athen. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's take a look at June through August. Well, let's see. Right now we have Jupiter entering Gemini. So this is a yearly energy. It does make June significant, this early part of June significant, because we're starting a new yearly energy. Jupiter in Gemini is going to expand more of the mental and communicative spheres of our life, at least in such a way that it's really good to learn, especially about practical things. It's really good to maybe pick up that book, do some reading, do some writing, maybe take that course, that practical, especially if it's technical or practical in nature, usually technical or self-study, and exchanging as well, so a lot of exchanging with others can be emphasized as well. So it's going to be a really, great year to learn a lot about communication, to learn about our peers, our neighbors, how we connect there, siblings, if you have siblings, lots to learn there. But all in all, communication and exchanging with others, possibly also business and trade as well. So Gemini really getting expanded now the next 12 months. That's seen by Jupiter. And then, of course, that will be followed by the fast movers. And in fact, Mercury's just going to go there right away on Sunday. But once we have the lunar cycle there, so let's see, that's going to be at the end of June. So June 24th, June 25th, mostly June 25th, it looks like. We have a new moon in Gemini, very, very closely conjunct Jupiter. So here's the new moon, the sun and moon, and you can see Jupiter is like right in the middle of the sun there. So it's going to be a very close conjunction. That's when I think it's really going to get activated. So even though we're getting a little bit of that energy starting this week on Friday, really, this whole Gemini thing is really kicking things off at the end of June and for the whole month of July. So yeah, really expanding that, really activating that from a monthly sense. It's a great time to be curious, interested. Good to see where Gemini is in your chart. So if you go to the chart calculator and type in your birth details, wherever Gemini is, this constellation, this yellow constellation with the number 2 symbol, Gemini. This will tell you what area of your life's being activated. For some, it might be relationships. For others, it might be their career. It might be your home life. But if we're looking at this collectively for everybody, yeah, it's that more cerebral, more communicative energy. So good to be curious, good to be interested, good to be open-minded. Still going to be a great time this whole summer to be expressing ourselves with Mars and Leo. Still going to have a lot there in terms of self-expression. Okay, and I think that's and then of course the Saturn and Neptune we were talking about last time. So let's go ahead and pull up the transits. But we're going to have Saturn over Neptune as well this summer. So it's an important summer. Should be some important shifts and changes collectively and for everyone to some extent. Actually, we want to do this one. So here's the Saturn-Neptune sneak peek. We were talking about this last week. So you have Saturn, the planet of building and achievement and what we're producing, basically, what we're producing in life. Getting very close to watery Neptune. That's all that Pisces things. That's all that disillusionment, that uncertainty, that floating. But here it's about building upon this. So from the productive life, from what we're building, producing, it's important that we're all building things that are more soul-fulfilling, more in alignment with our soul. And the summer is going to give us a sneak peek of this. So it's going to be within a 1-degree orb from June 9th until August 23rd, Saturn and Neptune. Now it goes exact late February, early March of next year. And That'll be activated soon thereafter by the fast movers in March. So it's really early next year that it really starts, but I would say this summer is a great summer to get a sneak peek into what February, March of next year looks like, especially in the context of building a life that's more soul-fulfilling. So that means careers, achievements, productive things, becoming more soul-fulfilling. Maybe even, not so much for material reasons, but more of like spiritual reasons for ourselves. Maybe a lot of us, there's probably gonna be a whole new chapter. A lot of us maybe even starting literally spiritual or psychology or these kinds of professions. Art as well, creativity, imagination, music. You can see this starting. Okay, maybe the AI has something to do with this collectively. And the other way around is that it's really good to build our spirituality. It's really good to build our mental health and our soul fulfillment. So things like taking seriously meditation or rest or sleep, mental health, psychology, spirituality, things like this. All right, so really good summer for this. It's going to be early. It's just a little bit of a sneak peek, but it's great to have it there to work with as a new beginning. Along with this, we could add the minor sextile we've had between Saturn and Uranus, which will be going exact again in August. This has already been going on since late March, early April. So if you want to ask yourself what you started late March, in the context of building and producing things, we can expect things to take a shift in the right direction in August. These things probably won't solidify until January. Again, talking about the things you started in late March for everybody. But a step in the right direction. And this is Saturn retrograde by that point. The second half of the summer, we'll have Saturn retrograde, which is more reflective in this area, more reflective about our careers, more reflective about achieving and accomplishing things. Right? But it's nice to see Uranus in support to that, giving us a sense of open-mindedness, maybe a sense of innovation, sense of free-spiritedness, more in the sense of listening to our excitement, listening to our true self, to build things that are more in alignment with our true self. All right. But anyways, I'd say it's an important summer for two main reasons: Jupiter entering Gemini, as we discussed earlier, and Saturn over Neptune, which is the sneak peek into early next year. But a great question there, Chris. Very helpful for all of us. Any questions that are collective in nature that apply to everybody, really helpful to put in the chat so we can all benefit from different perspectives. Amanda says, I'm challenging myself not to use AI, LOL. Yeah, and I think that's important too, right? We become so dependent on technology. The amount of screen time I've noticed myself having in my life, it's not healthy. So it's about the balance, between using technology, which is obviously a tool, but we don't want to overuse those tools, right? Or we certainly, I don't think, want to become dependent on those tools. But the truth is, as everyone else starts using these tools, we do have to learn to use them as well. And it can enrich our lives, obviously. Like AI can save us a ton of time. I don't know about a lot of you, but for me, like with some of the MTZ stuff, I can have the AI do it, and this saves a whole lot more of my time. It makes it not just saving time, but actually makes it better. Like if I have the AI edit something I wrote, or help me understand something about astrology, even as I'm always learning about astrology, all this stuff is all AI driven, AI helpful. And what we're building out now with the software, as a lot of you know, we're working on this online calculator that has the full features of transits, of solar returns, of the transit graph, of synastry. We're basically really building out the online chart calculator to be a full-fledged software. We're actually going to have an AI integrated into it so that you can ask it questions, you can have it pull up charts for you and do all kinds of interesting things. So kind of spilling the beans there, kind of, saying this a little bit sooner than I anticipated, but there's a little sneak peek for some of you. We do have the software finishing development. It's definitely on the latter part of finishing, and we're going to be integrating AI with it so that it can help us as astrologers, help us learn astrology too. You'll be able to go to the calculator and just learn astrology, ask the AI what different parts of the chart mean, or what these placements mean, and basically doing my job. I still think humans will always have that intuitive ability. Nothing's ever going to take that away. But in terms of getting very quick, very accurate, maybe not very intuitive, but very accurate, quick, maybe more headspace information, the AI is absolutely fantastic at this. But anyways, good to use it, but definitely not be overly dependent on it. And there is going to be a life. I think there's going to be a world where there's going to be a whole bunch of us that, go the other direction. I mean, most of society is obviously going to go deeper and deeper into technology and AI and stuff. I mean, for the most part, I would imagine, I hope I'm wrong about this maybe, but I would imagine humanity is definitely going into like the cyborg direction, right? I mean, implants, really things built into our biology that is technological, having a second brain, if you will, like literally, or things like this. Things are definitely moving in that direction. But as things go more and more extreme in that direction, there's, yes, absolutely going to be a split, and there's going to be a ton of humans who are going to become more nature-based, more natural. I mean, I hope to find somewhere in the middle there. But I think my point is that the more we get technologically involved, the greater that split happens, the greater we see the dangers and the pitfalls of technology, and thus more of a need for nature-based stuff and removing ourselves from this and getting back to the tried and true, right? And that's what we do with true sidereal, right? We're looking at the sky before it was altered, or at least we're trying to get as close as we can to the actual sky when our ancestors first determined the constellations. There's been a lot of technology since then, which was the creation of the calendars, creation of the tropical zodiac, which is a simplified version, a lot of man-made intervention. But because of technology, we're able to very easily now view the sky. Because if it wasn't for the internet, if it wasn't for these softwares, if it wasn't for technology, it would be very difficult to cast charts for true sidereal. Now, ideally, we'd go outside and we'd look up at the sky and we'd do what our ancestors did. But in terms of using it in modern day, it'd be very difficult. So anyways, technology is a tool, just like any other tool. It can be used for good, bad. It can be dangerous. It can also be extremely helpful. Depends on the tool user, right? So, yeah. So I think it's, good to stay vigilant with that, not overuse tools, not become too dependent, and to always be aware of the dangers, right? It's like every tool needs care. Every tool needs safety, and I would say it's probably most true for AI than anything else. AI is probably the most dangerous thing that I think we've created ever. And but it also has the potential to be the most helpful. Ari Gold, great to see you. Hey family, says Ari Gold. Always a pleasure. Monica, question. Will one's Black Moon Lilith sign differ between Western and true sidereal? Yes, so the sign will change. The house placement will not, unless you're using a different house system, and the aspects will stay the same depending on the aspect orbs and anything else. So the only thing that really changes between true sidereal, what we're using, and Western tropical, so mainstream, is the signs. And so here, yes, the signs will be different. Well, not always. There can be overlap, but the sign placement will be different. But Monica says, I understand it to be the lunar apogee, so I'm unsure how to calculate this if it changes. Yeah, so the apogee is the point, but since the point is plotted on the zodiac, yes, the sign will change. So all the placements signs are different between tropical and true sidereal. So Javante says, yeah, February is when it started, so I'm glad so that's very likely to be from the Saturn influence then, Javante. So now that's Saturn for a few years, okay? So Saturn's in Pisces for a few years, but it does get easier to work with. And again, it's all steps in the right direction, so I don't want you to think it's going to be like that for the full 3 years. It's always the most difficult at first, but it's all there for, again, the benefit of that healthy Pisces energy as we discussed. Ipafai, great to see you. Hello all from Finland. Morangas, great to see you as well. Hi everyone, greetings from Belgium. We have a lot from Europe here. So Europe, we're looking at the evening time. I guess it's easier to join live stream in the evening in general. In the States, it's kind of in the middle of the day, isn't it, for you guys? But anyways, great to see so many joining. Violence is life. Back in March, I was doing a lot of work on measuring and scale model building, Stonehenge model, and S-scale. I am probably going to work on it more this month. That's awesome. Yeah. Sounds like some pretty cool soul-filling and maybe even spiritual work. I don't know too much about these measurements, but sounds awesome to me. Lane, great to see you. Hello all from the mountains of Arizona. All right, another from Arizona. Athen, I'm really enjoying studying my natal chart I bought from your website. Thank you. Oh, very happy to hear that, Lane. So that's probably the report that you got there. Yeah, the report, I did my very best to make that as accurate as possible, as detailed as possible, and I'm always very happy to see when others are enjoying it. Margaret, if you could post the discount link for anyone who hasn't gotten their True Sidereal report, there's a 50% discount always for MTZ members, and so if you haven't gotten yours yet, Margaret will post the link here in the chat, and you can see if that's something you're interested in. Kimberly, greetings from Sarasota. Just curious about K2 Rahu transit in 2D, or no, in 2D and 8th house. Do you mean divisional chart? Probably not. Not sure. But anyways, if it's the house, we got to leave that for personal questions outside of this live stream, because we want to look at things collectively. What's something that applies to everybody? But if you've got a sign question, transit, what I will say is like what we all have is we all have Rahu and Ketu about to finish their Virgo and Pisces transits. In fact, this is also the summertime. In fact, I left this out. So Rahu and Ketu are these horseshoe looking things, the north and south nodes. This is the south node here, which is like a U, like south. The north node is an N, up the other way around, which is north. But as you can see, and by the way, they move backwards, so they go in the opposite direction of the planet. So here, the south node's going from Virgo into Leo. And anyways, you can see that the south node starts to get closer to Leo at the end of this month, in June. And we're really finishing up what has been really 2 years of the whole Rahu Ketu in Virgo and Pisces. Virgo and Pisces has been that mental health, control, no control, doing versus being, all this personal development type of stuff. So now it's going to go into the more creative areas of Leo, play, creative, self-expression, fun, matters of the heart, passion, love. That's where the south node's going to be. So that's going to be the foundation or the bedrock of really the next 2 years. But it's going to need to move, where we're going to have to challenge ourselves is to move it into the Aquarius, to move it into the north node. And with Aquarius, that's about really getting into things like innovation, technology, and also community as well, or collective things. So North Node will go a little bit later, since we're using the uneven size of the constellations. North Node will get close to Aquarius towards the end of July, about a month later. But nonetheless, it's going to be important to still work with it even now. So new things with Aquarius: innovation, technology, community, contribution, really, focusing on where we can contribute. This is the outlet for play, fun, and creative energy, right? So while the karma, the bedrock, the physical experiences we'll be having, will be very much collectively around self-expression. From there, we want to push it towards contribution, because it's really through contribution that we find our voice, we find our passion, right? Talk to someone who's found their passion, so to speak. I don't think we ever actually find it like that's it. But someone who's so-called found their passion, really passionate about something, 9 times out of 10, it's something greater than themselves. It's something greater than themselves. It's something that they're either contributing to, or something about the future that they're excited about, or they're a part of something greater, like for the world or a community or something of this nature. So that's what Aquarius shows us, is that actually the outlet for self-expression, the outlet for play, the outlet for creative energy is friends, community, the world, the future, innovation, fundamentally contribution. So this is really where we have that shifting of nodes this summer. Right, so Amanda brings up a good question. I'm curious about how the polarity point of Sagittarius works with Jupiter and Gemini, right? Because, so, for those that aren't aware, Sagittarius is opposite Gemini. And it's very important with every transit that we look at both. And especially when the transiting planet is the ruler of the opposite sign. So Jupiter rules Sagittarius. This means that wherever Jupiter goes, he's bringing with him this expansiveness of Sagittarius, the optimism, the free-spiritedness, the adventure. But in an opposite, but with Sagittarius being opposite here, it's really about balancing both. The Sagittarius and Gemini axes is about, what I would say, it's more than this, but the way I would simplify it is, it's the axes of the hemispheres of the mind. You have the left brain, you have the right brain. So left brain is said to be more practical. This is like language, communication, engineering, math, concepts, basically all the things that you have to form concepts with, put into a box. You know, like in language, we say, that's a tree. And we put the tree in the box of we put that thing we call a tree in the box of the word tree. And we say, that's a tree. And we label it, we concretize it, we structure it. We put it in that box. And that's really helpful for everyday things, practical stuff. Like I said, engineering, mathematics, all that does this, right? How can things be actually physically applied in this world? The left brain, fantastic for this. Now, the right brain is the abstract mind. That's the one that is not trying to focalize into a specific point, but expanding to infinity. So that's the Sagittarius, that's the Jupiter. So that's spirituality, that's philosophy, starting to question things, the meaning of life, starting to play around with perspective. Not so much what's in a box, but how can we look at this box from as many or a million different ways as possible and study it from that, from a more expansive, bigger picture, open-minded view. This is also where we have the more creative mind. Again, it's philosophy, it's abstract, it's all that kind of world. So this is really the balance now. So we really want to see how we can balance these. So while earlier I was simplifying it and saying, hey, it's really good to be learning and studying, we can look at it the other way and say that not only is it good to be open-minded about the practical, open-minded about learning, using that expansive mind in the conceptual world, but to conceptualize the spiritual or abstract world as well. So this also means a really good time of solidifying spirituality, of making sense of spirituality, solidifying creative things or imaginative things or abstract things into tangible, practical form. So as you can see, it's great for writing, but at the same time, sharing our perspective. It's great for communicating, but also teaching. It's great for learning practical things, but also more abstract things. So it's really going to be important, I think, to balance these. The balancing won't happen as a gimme. We will probably intentionally need to balance them. But it's a great opportunity for that, because that's really what Jupiter wants us to do. Jupiter wants us to have an abstract view of the practical everyday life and wants us to be more practical, in this case, about the abstract. So that's how I'd say the polarity is playing out. It's a really good question, Amanda. Thank you. Javante says, that totally makes sense. As a healer and guide, it feels like I'm being initiated into a new reality, which is based on what lights me up. Things that don't light me up is falling off fast. Great to hear, Javante. That's awesome to hear. Thank you. Gina, great to see you. Hello, Athen. Hello, everyone, says Gina. All right, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up here. I'm going to get to some final questions and conclude here for the day. Karen, thanks for joining. Hello, Athen. What degree is the sun in Taurus? What degree? So with true sidereal, we're not so concerned with degrees because we're using the uneven size of the constellations. Okay, so some constellations are more than 30 degrees, some are less. So if I was to give you, I could pull up right now the number, but it's really arbitrary. It really doesn't mean anything because we don't have any linking to those degrees to anything yet. Now, with True Sidereal, we're building this. We're actually building a star chart that's going to have the degrees associated with stars. And then at that point, we'll know that if I say, 8 degrees, that it's going to be associated with that part of the sky. But right now, the numbers are very meaningless, abstract. They don't really mean anything. But I'll go ahead and give it to you anyways. So the sun is quite well into Taurus. I didn't realize how far the sun's actually in Taurus. Right in the middle of Taurus here on June 1st. It's at 16 and a half degrees. 16 and a half degrees of Taurus. Kim asks, position of these planets and signs are current and accurate? Yes, so we're using the visible sky, where the planets are visibly using the traditional zodiac. And this can all be verified through planetarium software, such as Star Chart on your phone. Actually, a much more popular one is Stellarium, which is, I don't know, does Stellarium have a phone app? Anyways, it can be accessed on the phone because it's, or can it? Actually, I'm sure they do. But anyways, on the desktop, Stellarium is a really good one. It's planetarium, and you can see all this visually there as well. Daniela, great to join us. Thanks so much. Hey, Athen, nice to catch the live stream. I do have a question. What do you think is one of the main themes for the rest of the year? Something to pay attention to. Thanks. Yeah, so definitely the summertime, like I said, is very important. And that's really the next major thing. We don't have a whole lot of major aspects going on in the second half of the year. That doesn't mean they won't be important in their own way. Obviously, the fast-moving planets will be doing their own thing month to month. But if we're looking at the year as a whole, definitely the summertime has a lot of shifts, right? The 3 big ones: Jupiter entering Gemini, Saturn sneak peeking with Neptune, Saturn conjunct Neptune, and the nodes, the North Node, South Node, Rahu, Ketu shifting. So the second half of the year is really, I would say, a continuation of the shifts that we talked about that are happening in the summer. So they will be a building, they will be a development of that. And like I said at the very beginning of the live stream, everything with the solar cycle always starts manifesting 3 months after it starts. So we could say that 3 months after June, July, August, whatever, is going to be a lot of the manifestations. And so a lot of what we talked about earlier about those 3 main things, we're going to see a lot of actual manifestation with that towards the second half. All right, so sorry if I didn't get to everyone's question here. We're going to go ahead and wrap up now. But it was great connecting with you all. As always, great to have your perspectives, great to have your questions, super helpful, and great to connect with the community. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great week, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.